Actor Julian Sands remembered 3 years after disappearance in Southern California mountains. 3 years have passed, yet the mountains have not loosened their grip on the mystery. On a cold January afternoon in 2023, Julian Sands, actor, adventurer, romantic at heart, set out alone toward the icy trails of Mount Baldy. He was 65 years old, seasoned in both art and altitude, a man who had spent a lifetime chasing meaning in stories and summits. He never came back. What remains now is silence, snowfall layered over footprints, wind erased the sound of his steps, and time, cruel and unyielding, has turned a disappearance into a lingering ache that refuses to resolve. Sands was reported missing on January 13, 2023, after failing to return from a solo hike in the San Gabriel Mountains of Southern California. The region was already locked in the grip of brutal winter weather. Snow and ice coated the trails. Visibility dropped. Temperatures plunged. For seasoned hikers, Mount Baldy can be unforgiving in the best conditions. In a storm, it becomes something else entirely, an indifferent force of nature that does not negotiate. Search and rescue teams moved quickly, but nature kept pushing back. Helicopters were grounded by violent winds. Crews were turned away by avalanche risks and unstable ice. Storm after storm rolled through, each one rewriting the terrain and stealing another piece of certainty. What began as a rescue mission slowly shifted into something heavier, something filled with dread. Weeks passed, then months. Authorities launched repeated searches whenever weather allowed. Volunteers, deputies, aviation teams, and drone crews combed areas so remote they could only be reached by air. More than 80 personnel at a time scoured ridges and ravines, peering into places where sunlight barely reached. But Mount Baldy is vast, and winter has a way of hiding its secrets well. For Sands' family, each pause in the search was another emotional freefall. Hope became something fragile, handled carefully, spoken about in whispers. In a brief statement released through the sheriff's department, they thanked the rescuers who risked their lives in the effort to find him, asking quietly for privacy as they waited for answers that never seemed to arrive. Then, in June 2023, the mountains spoke, softly and far too late. Hikers discovered human remains in a remote section of the wilderness. The location was isolated, difficult to access, and hauntingly still. Days later, authorities confirmed what many had feared, but no one wanted to hear. The remains belonged to Julian Sands. Even then, the story refused to end cleanly. The San Bernardino County Sheriff Coroner Department ruled the cause of death undetermined. No final explanation, no clear narrative of what happened in those last moments. Just a stark, official acknowledgement that the truth had slipped beyond reach. For fans and colleagues alike, the unresolved nature of Sands' death felt especially cruel. This was an actor known for emotional depth and romantic intensity, a man whose performances often explored longing, beauty, and loss. His breakout role in A Room with a View in 1985 made him an international sensation, a symbol of elegance and yearning. Later, he embraced darker, more enigmatic roles, including the title character in Warlock, where danger and destiny collided on screen. His career spanned decades and genres, from Leaving Las Vegas to arachnophobia, from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo to television series like 24, Dexter, Smallville, and Gotham. Sands was everywhere, sometimes quietly, sometimes unforgettable. He was the kind of actor who didn't chase the spotlight, but left an impression all the same. Off-screen, Sands was known for his love of the outdoors. Hiking wasn't a hobby, it was a calling. Friends described him as deeply connected to nature, drawn to mountains not for their danger but for their honesty. There was something poetic, if unbearably tragic, of the idea that the wilderness he loved would become his final chapter. Mount Baldy, for all its popularity, has a history marked by rescues and fatalities, especially in winter. Locals know its beauty comes with a warning, but even experience is no guarantee against ice, storms, and sudden shifts in weather. In the end, the mountain offers no explanations, only outcomes. 3 years later, questions still hang in the cold air. Did Sands slip? Did the weather turn faster than expected? Did one wrong step change everything? Officials say no new information has emerged that would clarify his final moments. The case remains officially unresolved, a blank space where answers should be. What remains instead is memory. Julian Sands is remembered not for how he disappeared, but for how he lived, curious, fearless, romantic. His performances continue to flicker across screens, timeless and untouched by the snow that claimed him. And somewhere on Mount Baldy, the wind still moves across the trail he never finished, carrying with it a story that may never be fully told. Some endings are meant to be understood, others are simply meant to be felt.